The Holbrook Correctional Facility sat at the edge of town like a concrete beast, cold, towering, and unforgiving. Its walls were thick enough to swallow screams, its gates heavy enough to keep hope out. Inside, time didn't pass, it crawled. To most people, prison was a place where society sent its devils. But to Maya Bennett, it was where she earned her living. A correctional officer for 3 years, Maya had learned the rhythm of the place. Its breathing, its moods, the way silence meant trouble and noise meant fear. She walked its halls with practiced caution, boots tapping on linoleum floors, hand hovering near her baton, gaze sharp as steel. But beneath her controlled exterior, Maya carried a secret the prison couldn't see, a past she never talked about, a wound she never healed, a reason she joined Holbrook instead of running from it. That morning started like all others. Cold, quiet, heavy. Inmates marched to breakfast with their heads lowered, chains clinking in the dim light. Officers stood posted like statues, eyes empty. But when Maya entered cell block D, something was different. A slight change in the air, a tension that didn't belong. She noticed him before anyone said a word. Luca Moretti, inmate number 47219. He sat on the edge of his bunk, wrists cuffed, back straight, eyes fixed on the floor. But there was something unusual about him. An aura that didn't match the orange uniform. He looked out of place, like someone trapped in a portrait that didn't belong to him. Tall, steady, still. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, and his jaw was tense, shaped by sleepless nights and quiet fury. Maya checked her clipboard. New transfer, charged with second-degree murder, awaiting retrial. But something about that didn't feel right. She had seen killers, real, hardened killers, and Luca didn't carry that heaviness. He looked wronged, and for reasons she didn't understand, that unsettled her. Officer Daniels nudged her shoulder as he walked past. "That's Moretti," he muttered. "Watch him. Trouble follows him." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Daniels shrugged. "Says he's innocent. Acts innocent. Looks innocent. And that's usually the most dangerous type." She didn't reply, not because she agreed, but because she felt something else. A pull. As the inmates lined up for morning count, Luca lifted his head for the first time. Their eyes met, and Maya froze. His eyes weren't hardened or cold. They weren't manipulative or predatory. They were tired, wounded, brimming with a silent plea he never spoke aloud. It lasted only a second. Then he looked away, but Maya felt it deep in her chest. Something inside her shifted, just slightly, like the first crack in a frozen river. Later, during patrol rounds, she passed his cell again. She didn't look inside. She forced herself not to. But she heard him. A quiet voice. Controlled. Measured. "Officer Bennett." She stopped. He knew her name. She turned slowly, cautious, hand resting near her belt. He stood behind the bars, hands visible, expression unreadable. "I didn't do what they say," he said softly. Maya exhaled through her nose. Every inmate said the same thing. But something about his tone, not desperate, not defensive, made her pause. "That's not my business," she replied. He nodded, accepting her answer like he expected it. But then he said something she didn't expect. "I'm not asking you to believe me." She stiffened. He stepped closer, not menacingly, but like someone with nothing left to lose. "I'm just asking you to see me." The words sank into her skin like ice and heat at once. Because Maya knew what it meant. To want someone, anyone, to simply see you. Before she could respond, Officer Daniels called out from down the block. "Bennett, let's move." Maya turned and walked away, trying to calm the pounding in her chest. But as she stepped out of the cell block, she knew one thing. Luca Moretti was dangerous. Not because he was violent, but because he made her feel something she had spent years burying. And in a place like Holbrook, feelings were the first step toward breaking. She didn't know yet that Luca was innocent. She didn't know that Holbrook was the worst place for a man like him. And she didn't know that their lives were already beginning to intertwine in ways neither of them could escape. All she knew was this. When Luca looked at her, it felt like he saw through every wall she built. And that terrified her more than any inmate ever had. Night fell hard over Holbrook Correctional Facility. The prison always sounded different after dark. Quieter, heavier, full of secrets that didn't dare move until the lights went out. For guards, night shift was routine. For inmates, it was survival. Maya walked the tiers slowly, her boots echoing in the hollow corridor. Cell after cell, she scanned the bars, the bunks, the shadows. Routine. Predictable. Safe. Until she reached Luca's cell. He was sitting again, back against the wall, knees drawn up, arms resting loosely over them. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were alert. Watching the darkness. Listening to it. Reading it. When Maya stopped in front of his door, he didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't flinch. Just lifted his gaze to hers. And for the second time that day, Maya felt that strange pull. Like something inside him reached for something inside her. She broke eye contact first. She always did. "Lights out in 5 minutes," she said, keeping her tone steady. Luca nodded once. But then something happened that Maya didn't expect. A voice hissed from the next cell over. "Officer Bennett, careful with that one. He's got a reputation." Maya glanced sideways. Hendricks, one of the older inmates. Always watching. Always listening. Luca didn't react, but his jaw tightened just slightly. "A reputation for what?" Maya asked calmly. Hendricks smirked through the bars, yellowed teeth flashing under the dim lights. "For thinking he's better than us. For acting innocent. For making the guards look at him twice." Maya's heartbeat slipped. She didn't know why those words bothered her. "He's trouble," Hendricks whispered. "Pretty boy trouble." Luca spoke then, his voice low, soft enough that only Maya heard. "Don't listen to him." But not in a pleading way. Not in a manipulating way. In a protective way. As if he didn't want her caught in the crossfire of prison politics. Maya turned her head slightly toward him. "Do you want to tell me why everyone seems to know your name on your first day?" Luca inhaled slowly. "That's because everyone knows why I'm here." He paused, eyes darkening. "And everyone knows I shouldn't be." Before she could ask, Officer Daniels shouted from the catwalk. "Bennett, move it." Maya stepped back from the cell. But Luca called out softly before she left. "Be careful." She froze. Not because of the warning, but because of the sincerity behind it. No inmate had ever told her to be careful. Ever. She didn't reply. She walked away, boots tapping steadily. But her heartbeat was anything but steady. That night, in the break room, Daniels leaned back in his chair and cracked open a soda. "You were in Block D a little long today," he said casually. Too casually. Maya didn't look up from her paperwork. "I was doing my job." "Yeah, but you spent a good minute in front of Moretti's cell." Her pen paused. "Just slightly." "Is that a problem?" she asked. Daniels shrugged. "Not unless you let him get in your head." Maya set the paperwork aside. "Why does everyone keep talking about him?" "He just got here." Daniels chuckled, leaning forward. "Because he makes people talk. Because he doesn't fit in. And in prison, someone who doesn't fit in is one of two things. Dangerous or innocent." His eyes sharpened. "And between you and me, innocent men don't end up in Holbrook." Maya didn't respond. But something inside her disagreed. Luca Moretti didn't feel like other inmates. He didn't feel violent. Or erratic. Or guilty. He felt trapped. And angry in a way innocent people get angry. Quietly. Deeply. Constantly. A different kind of danger. Not the kind that hurts. The kind that awakens things. Later that night, during final cell checks, Maya returned to Block D one last time. The corridor was dim. Only emergency lights glowed faintly along the floor. Silent. Except for a soft sound. Metal against metal. Whispered voices. Maya froze. Something was wrong. She approached slowly, hand hovering over her baton. And then she heard it. Hendricks's voice. "You're new, but you're gonna learn fast. Holbrook picks favorites. And you're one of them." Maya hurried forward, rounding the corner just in time to see Hendricks's hand reaching through the bars of his cell, grabbing Luca's shirt. Luca didn't fight. He didn't even flinch. He simply stared Hendricks down with a cold, controlled expression Maya hadn't seen before. A warning without words. The kind of look a man gives when he has nothing left to lose. Maya stepped between them immediately. "Enough." Her voice cracked like thunder in the narrow hallway. Hendricks released Luca slowly, smirking as he backed away into the shadows. "Careful, Officer Bennett," he drawled. "Some inmates get inside your head, even the quiet ones." Maya ignored him. She turned to Luca, but he had already stepped back, hands raised slightly to show he meant no harm. "Are you okay?" she asked. He nodded once. Quiet. Controlled. But Maya didn't miss the slight tremble in his fingers. Fear. Not for himself. For her. As she walked away, She heard his voice quietly behind her. Thank you. It wasn't gratitude that caught her off guard. It was the emotion buried inside it. A mix of surprise, vulnerability, and something she couldn't name. By the time Maya reached the security door and swiped her keycard, one truth settled heavy in her chest. Luca Moretti was not like the others, and the danger surrounding him was not coming from him. It was closing in on him, and Maya, whether she wanted to or not, had just stepped into the middle of it. Morning in Holbrook didn't arrive gently. It slammed into the world with metal doors, shouted orders, and the clanging heartbeat of prison life. The lights flickered on with a harsh fluorescent buzz, dragging the inmates out of restless sleep. Maya arrived early that day, earlier than usual. She told herself it was routine, professionalism, dedication. But a small part of her, a part she refused to acknowledge, knew she came early because of what happened last night. She stepped into Block D, clipboard in hand, but her eyes were scanning for one thing before anything else. Luca. He stood at the bars, hands resting lightly on them, posture alert but relaxed. When he saw her, something flickered across his expression, small, subtle, almost imperceptible. Relief, as if seeing her meant he could finally breathe. He didn't speak. Neither did she. But the silence between them had changed. It wasn't the silence of strangers anymore. It was charged, sharp, heavy with unspoken things. Maya broke the moment first. Count in 5, she said, voice steady. Luca stepped back, compliant, controlled. But as she walked past his cell, she felt his eyes on her. Not in a threatening way, but in a way that made her heartbeat stumble. That morning, the prison warden made an unexpected appearance. Warden Briggs was a man carved from stone. Rigid posture, cold stare, a reputation for crushing anyone who stepped out of line, inmate or staff. He rarely visited Block D unless something was wrong. And he didn't waste time with subtlety. Officer Bennett, Briggs barked, walk with me. Maya followed him down the corridor, her stomach tightening. Briggs spoke without looking at her. I hear you've been showing attention to the new inmate. Maya paused mid-step. I've been doing my job. Briggs stopped abruptly and turned to her. His eyes were ice. I said attention, not care. There is a difference. Maya bristled. I don't favor inmates. No. Briggs raised an eyebrow. Then why did you intervene in a confrontation last night? Maya swallowed. Because it was escalating. Because someone had to. Daniels was on duty. Let him handle it. She blinked. Daniels wasn't there in time. Briggs stepped closer. So you stepped in for Moretti. What? Maya held his gaze. Because it's my job to keep all inmates safe. A dangerous smile tugged at the warden's lips. No, Officer Bennett. Your job is to keep this facility under control. And Luca Moretti is a problem. A big one. Maya felt heat crawl up her neck. With respect, sir, I think you're wrong. Briggs leaned in, lowering his voice. That inmate is accused of killing a state attorney. His case is political. His presence here is political. Everything around him is political. You don't get to think about this one. He straightened. You keep your distance. Understood. Maya didn't answer fast enough. Briggs' voice hardened. Understood, Officer Bennett. She forced the words out. Understood. But inside, something resisted. Something clenched. Something refused to accept that Luca was the villain everyone painted him to be. Briggs walked away without another word. But Maya felt eyes on her. She turned slowly. Luca stood at his bars again, watching. He must have seen the warden talking to her. He must have heard the tension. He must have known it was about him. Their eyes met. He said nothing, but there was a silent question in his gaze. Are you in trouble because of me? Maya looked away, breaking the connection. She didn't know him answers. She didn't know him anything. But the guilt twisted inside her anyway. Later that afternoon, Daniels cornered her near the staff lockers. Rumor is Briggs gave you the Moretti warning. Maya stiffened. Since when are you interested in rumors? Daniels shrugged. Since this one affects you. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Daniels leaned against the wall, lowering his voice. Briggs hates cases like Luca's. Anything involving corruption, witnesses, politics, makes the whole prison feel unstable. He wants Moretti broken down and compliant. He doesn't want you getting in the way. Maya's jaw clenched. I'm not in the way. Daniels gave her a long look. Maybe you don't see it, but the warden does. And the inmates do. See what? That he looks at you differently. The words hit her like a jolt. She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it again. Daniels continued. And you don't look away fast enough. Maya's heart skipped. She turned sharply and walked off. But the truth chased her down the hallway all the way to Block D. When she returned to Luca's tier, something felt off. The inmates were restless. More whispering. More eyes following her. And Luca was pacing. Slowly. Measured. Hands clenched. He never paced. When he heard her approaching, he stopped and stepped closer to the bars. You shouldn't be here right now, he said quietly. Maya frowned. Why? He exhaled, the tension in his shoulders visible now. The inmates think you care about me. Her breath hitched. His gaze was intense. And that makes you a target. Maya swallowed. That's ridiculous. It's prison, Lucas said. Ridiculous is normal here. She stepped closer without thinking. You haven't done anything wrong. Why is everyone? His voice lowered to a whisper. Because innocence is dangerous here. Her chest tightened. He added, even softer. And because you weren't supposed to see me. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Charged. Maya broke it first. I don't see you, she whispered. But they both knew it was a lie. Lucas stepped back, eyes darkening with something she couldn't decode. Disappointment? Acceptance? Pain. Then he said something that settled deep in her bones. Officer Bennett, whatever you think this is, it can't happen. Her heartbeat stumbled. What can't happen? This, he gestured between them. Whatever this is turning into. She felt heat rise to her throat. There is nothing between us. Luca's expression didn't change, but his voice did. Then stop looking at me like you know I'm innocent. Her breath broke. He had seen right through her. She didn't say a word. She couldn't, because for the first time since he arrived, she realized something she didn't want to admit. She did believe him, and that belief, in a place like Holbrook, was the most dangerous thing she could feel. Danger in Holbrook didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered. A word in the hall. A glance exchanged between cells. A tension in the air so thin and sharp it could slice through silence. That night, the atmosphere inside Block D felt wrong. Every guard sensed it. Every inmate tasted it. Even the walls themselves seemed to throb with anticipation. Maya felt it the moment she stepped onto the tier. A shift, a heaviness, a watchfulness that didn't belong. Her instincts sharpened, the same instincts that had protected her all her life. Her eyes scanned the faces along the row. More pressed lips, more stiffened shoulders, more whispers cut short when she passed. Something was coming. Something aimed at Luca. She felt it before she understood it. Officer Daniels approached her, voice low. Bennett, keep close tonight. Word is spreading. Maya narrowed her eyes. About what? Daniels checked over his shoulder before speaking. Somebody put a target on Moretti. Maya froze. A target? What? Daniels shook his head. Because inmates hate what they can't understand. He's too quiet, too clean, too untouched. He continued walking, but Maya stayed rooted to the spot. Untouched. Yes, that was the word. There were men in Holbrook who had done terrible things. Things that hardened their eyes and rotted their souls. Luca didn't have that look. And inmates hated innocence like wolves hated daylight. It exposed what they lost. She started down the walkway again, heart pounding. When she reached Luca's cell, he was sitting on the edge of his bunk, hands clasped, head lowered. He didn't notice her at first. Then, slowly, his eyes lifted. The moment their gazes met, Maya knew. He knew something too. But before she could speak, he stood and walked toward the bars. Maya, he had never said her name before. Not out loud. Not like that. Not gently. Her breath snagged. He lowered his voice. You shouldn't be near me tonight. She frowned. Why not? He scanned the cells around them subtly, with the kind of awareness only a man being hunted possessed. They're planning something. Maya's stomach clenched. Who? He shook his head once. I don't know. I only know the energy. You feel it too. She did. More than she wanted to admit. Maya took one slow step forward. Then I'm not going anywhere. Luca's jaw tightened. Maya, listen to me. This place, it doesn't follow rules. Not real ones. Not the ones printed in your training manual. If something happens, you cannot be associated with me. Her voice wavered. I'm not associated with you. Luca looked at her like he could see the truth she was hiding. You are, and they know it. She swallowed hard. But before she could answer, a shout echoed across the block. Lights out in 5. The atmosphere shifted sharply. It felt like the air before a storm, the kind that splits trees and swallows the sky. Luca looked at her again, something like panic flickering behind his eyes. "Please," he whispered, "leave this block." Maya should have walked away. She should have followed orders. She should have listened to the warning signs thrumming through every inch of her body. But she didn't move. Not yet. Because something in Luca's voice, something in the way he said please, felt like a man begging for someone to see him. Not as an inmate, as a human. Her voice came out soft. "I'm not leaving." Luca's eyes closed briefly, not in relief, but in despair, because he knew what she didn't. Staying near him meant danger. Real danger. For him. And for her. Light snapped off. The block fell into blackout darkness except for emergency strips glowing along the floor. Maya's pulse hammered. Soft shuffles echoed through the dark. Quiet voices. Metal dragging across concrete. Her fingers tightened on her flashlight. She clicked it on. A thin beam slicing through the gloom. That's when she saw it. Movement behind Luca's cell. Two figures lurking near the back access. Shadows slipping closer, quiet as predators. Maya took one step toward the danger. But Luca slammed his palm against the bars, eyes wide. "No." His voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "Stay back." She froze. But one of the shadows lunged then. Metal flashed. A sharpened piece of broken fence link glinting in the light. Maya reached for her baton. But Luca changed first. He moved with a speed she didn't expect. He grabbed the attacker's arm through the bars, twisting hard. A cry tore through the dim block. Metal clattered. The inmate stumbled back, clutching his wrist. Shouts erupted. More shadows surged toward Luca's cell. This wasn't a fight. It was an ambush. A planned attack. A message. Luca didn't step away from the bars. He planted himself there. Shoulders squared. Jaw set. Eyes blazing with controlled fury. "Back off," he growled. The darkness answered with a hiss. "You're dead, Moretti." Maya stepped forward. "Stop. All of you, get back now." Silence swallowed the block. Then, a slow, cruel laugh drifted from one of the shadows. Well, look who's protecting him." Maya stiffened. Luca's eyes snapped to hers in warning. "Officer Bennett," the voice taunted, "what are you doing here alone with a murderer?" Maya gripped her baton harder. "He's not." She stopped herself, but it was too late. The whisper traveled faster than fire. "Not a murderer. Not a murderer. The guard says he's not a murderer." It spread across Block D. Maya felt Luca's eyes on her. Hurt, fear, guilt, something raw she wasn't ready to name. The attackers melted back into the shadows as officers rushed in from the west end of the tier. Daniels arrived first. What the hell happened here? Maya opened her mouth. But Luca spoke first. "Nothing." Maya snapped her head toward him. His voice was low, controlled. "I tripped. Dropped something. That's all." Daniels stared between them suspiciously. Maya tried to hide her rattled breath. Hide her shaking hand. Hide the truth. But Luca saw everything. Because he wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting her. Daniels shrugged eventually and signaled the backup to disperse. When the noise calmed, Maya stood still. Heart pounding, thoughts racing. She turned to Luca. He was standing in the middle of his cell now, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched. "Maya," he said quietly, "I told you to leave." His voice wasn't angry. It was terrified. She looked back at him, breath shaky. "Why didn't you tell them what happened?" Luca's answer was soft. "Because if the inmates know you're on my side, you won't make it out of this block alive." The words tore through her. Not a threat. Not an exaggeration. A fact. Luca stepped closer to the bars, voice low and urgent. "Stay away from me." Maya swallowed. "I can't." Emotion flickered sharply in his eyes. "Maya, if you keep trying to protect me, you're going to get hurt." She met his gaze fully then. "So are you." Silence. He broke it with a whisper that felt like a warning and a plea. "I don't want that." But the storm had already started, and neither of them could stop it now. The morning after the ambush, Holbrook felt different. Too still, too quiet, too watchful. Maya felt every stare as she walked through the corridor. Guards paused mid-conversation when she passed. Inmates whispered more openly. Everyone knew something shifted. Everyone felt the tension in the air around her. Everyone understood one thing. Officer Bennett had crossed a line. And the problem with crossing lines in Holbrook was simple. You couldn't uncross them. Maya tried to act normal. She followed her routine, Made her rounds, checked the cells, avoided eye contact. But word traveled fast. She heard it in scraps as she moved through Block D. The guard who saved him. She defended Moretti. She said he wasn't a murderer. The warden's furious. It felt like walking through fog filled with knives. Every whisper cut deeper than the last. When she reached Luca's cell, he was standing. Not pacing, not sitting. Just standing in the center of the room like someone waiting for a verdict. He didn't greet her. He didn't step closer. Just looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. Anger? Fear? Worry? All three. Maya tried to speak, but found no words. Luca spoke first. Quiet. Measured. Maya, you shouldn't be here. The way he said her name. Soft, pained. Sent a chill down her spine. This is my job, she replied. No, Luca said. This is you putting a target on your back. She opened her mouth, but someone approached from behind. Officer Daniels. You two done? He asked, tone sharp. We've got movement in the yard. Moretti, let's go. Luca stepped back instantly, slipping into the mask of compliant inmate. Maya stepped aside as Daniels opened the cell. Luca walked out in cuffs, silent and straight-backed. But as he passed her, their eyes met for half a second. A message passed between them. Be careful. You're not safe. Something is coming. The yard was alive with a hum of tension. Inmates moved like shadows across the cracked concrete. Groups formed. Eyes followed Luca. Maya watched from the tower above, scanning the crowd for threats. Daniel stood beside her, arms crossed. You know what the real problem is? He muttered. She didn't answer. He continued. Luca Moretti wasn't supposed to survive last night. Maya turned sharply. What do you mean wasn't supposed to? Daniels kept his eyes on the yard. Means someone put the word out that Moretti needed to go. And when that comes from the top, inmates obey. Maya's blood ran cold. From the top, she repeated. Daniels sighed, lowering his voice. This place isn't just a prison, Bennett. It's a machine. Some men disappear in here. Some never make it to trial. Some convictions are convenient. Maya gripped the railing. Are you saying someone wants him dead? Daniels looked directly at her. I'm saying, don't get involved. But it was too late. Because suddenly, below them in the yard, a scuffle broke out near Luca. Small at first, then erupting like fire. Two inmates moved toward him fast. Weapons in hand. Maya didn't think. She acted. She sprinted down the metal stairs before Daniels could stop her, voice cracking through the yard like thunder. Stop. Back away. But the attack came fast. One inmate lunged. Luca dodged. The shank grazed his arm, blood spotting the sleeve of his uniform. The second assailant charged. Maya reached them just in time. Her baton struck the attacker across the arm, forcing the weapon to clatter onto the concrete. Chaos exploded. Alarms blared. Guards swarmed. Inmates stepped back. Luca stood breathing hard, chest rising and falling, eyes locked on Maya. She had just saved him again. In broad daylight. In front of the entire population. In front of every guard. That alone could cost her everything. But she didn't care. Not in that moment. Because when Luca whispered, Are you okay? With blood dripping down his arm, Maya realized something dangerous. She was more afraid of losing him than losing her job. An hour later, she was called to the warden's office. The atmosphere inside was suffocating. Warden Briggs sat behind his desk with a cold smile. Officer Bennett, he began, voice low. Do you enjoy disobeying direct warnings? Maya didn't flinch. I prevented an inmate assault. You protected Moretti, Briggs corrected. In front of 24 witnesses. Maya lifted her chin. I did my job. Briggs stood slowly. And in doing so, you made yourself a liability. Rumors are spreading. Guards are talking. Inmates are watching. Your judgment is compromised. Maya clenched her fists. I haven't done anything wrong. Briggs stepped so close she felt his breath. You have chosen a side. Her heartbeat stuttered. Briggs's voice dropped to a whisper. And you chose wrong. He reached for a file on his desk and slid it toward her. Moretti's case file. Read it. Maya hesitated, then opened it. What she saw made her breath catch. Photos. Evidence. Court transcripts. Police notes. All of it pointing to Luca as a killer. Except, something was wrong. It was too neat. Too clean. Too organized. The timeline didn't add up. The witness statements were inconsistent. And the evidence. It felt planted. Manufactured. Forced. Briggs watched her react. Do you understand now? He asked, smirking. He's exactly where he belongs. Maya closed the file slowly. No, she whispered. He's not. Briggs's expression twisted into something ugly. You're suspended from Block D. Maya's breath stopped. No. Yes, the warden snarled. You are ordered to stay away from Moretti effective immediately. Maya stepped forward. You can't. I can. And I have. Briggs leaned down until his face was inches from hers. And if you go near him again. His smile widened. I will bury you in paperwork so deep you'll never work again. Maya's heart pounded so hard it hurt. Briggs's words echoed through her skull. Stay away from Moretti. This is your final warning. But as she left the office, rage shaking her hands, she whispered under her breath, Luca is innocent, and I'm going to prove it. What Maya didn't know, not yet, was that someone else in Holbrook heard her, and they were about to strike first. The next morning arrived covered in gray clouds, heavy with rain that hadn't yet fallen. Holbrook Correctional Facility felt colder, darker, and more suffocating than usual. Maya wasn't supposed to be there. She had been removed from Block D, barred from interacting with Luca, threatened, silenced. But she came anyway. She couldn't explain it, couldn't rationalize it, couldn't stop herself. Luca's face, his fear, his warning, his blood on her hands. She couldn't forget any of it. She walked through the staff corridors like a ghost, avoiding Briggs, avoiding cameras, avoiding questions. Her badge felt heavier than usual, like it was dragging her into a choice she couldn't undo. When she reached the observation deck above Block D, she paused. From here, she could see everything, every movement, every inmate, every guard. And then she saw him. Luca. He was in the far corner of the yard, isolated, shoulders tense, gaze fixed on nothing. His uniform sleeve was torn from yesterday's attack. Blood stained the fabric. He looked alone. Not inmate alone. Human alone. Maya exhaled shakily. Daniels appeared beside her. You're not supposed to be here, he muttered. I know, she said quietly. Daniels followed her gaze. It's worse today. Word is that someone paid off half the block to take him out. The other half were told to look the other way. Her stomach tightened. By who? Daniels didn't answer. Because they both knew. Warden Briggs. And maybe someone even higher. Bennett, Daniels said softly. If you care about your job, your safety, hell, your life, stay away from Moretti. She didn't respond. The silence was answer enough. Later, Maya shouldn't have been anywhere near Block D. She shouldn't have been inside the hallway. Shouldn't have been walking toward his cell. But she was. Her footsteps echoed softly, heart pounding in her ears. She tried to look official, rigid, cold. Like any other guard on a normal patrol. But she wasn't normal. Not today. She reached his cell. The moment she appeared, Luca stood immediately. No hesitation. As if he'd been waiting. As if her presence was the only thing he'd been holding on to. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. You keep saying that, she replied. Because it's true. His voice wasn't angry. It was frightened. Not for himself, but for her. Maya looked down at his injured arm, the dried blood, the cut near his elbow. You need medical attention. He shrugged, though pain flickered across his face. It's nothing. You were attacked. That's nothing too. Maya gripped the bars. Luca, they're trying to kill you. Silence. The heavy kind that means a truth has finally been spoken out loud. Luca inhaled slowly. They won't stop. Why? Maya whispered. He stepped closer. Not enough to cross a line, but close enough that she felt the weight of his presence. Because I didn't kill anyone, he said softly. And the people who framed me can't afford for the truth to come out. Maya's breath stopped. She knew it. She had felt it in her bones. But hearing him say it, hearing the quiet devastation in his voice, stabbed something deep inside her. Luca, she said shakily, who are they? He hesitated. Pain flickered across his expression. It doesn't matter. Yes, it does. No, he said firmly. Knowing won't save me. It'll just put you on the list too. She shook her head. I'm already on the list. The words hit him like a blow. His hand rose toward the bars, then stopped inches short, fingers curling into a fist like he was fighting himself. Maya, please. His voice cracked slightly. I can't let you get dragged into this. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. I already am. Luca's eyes closed. She had never seen him like this. Not controlled, not calm, not composed, but human. Deeply, painfully human. Maya, he whispered. His voice was barely sound. I didn't kill that attorney. I know. He opened his eyes then. Something raw, deep, vulnerable stared back at her. You do? He breathed. She nodded. I know when someone is lying. And I know when someone is broken. A beat. And you're not lying. Luca exhaled sharply, like her words hit him harder than any blow. He lowered his head, voice rough. They said I pushed him off the balcony. That I snapped. That I fought with him. You didn't? She asked. He lifted his gaze slowly. He was already dead when I found him. Maya stiffened. Luca continued, voice strained. I walked in on two men standing over him. They knocked me unconscious. When I woke up, I was in handcuffs, being told I killed him. Her heart twisted. They framed you, she whispered. Luca nodded. My fingerprints were everywhere in the office. I worked for him. They made it look perfect. Maya stepped so close their fingers nearly touched through the bars. Luca, why did they choose you? He swallowed hard. Because I knew something I shouldn't have. What? He shook his head. You don't want to be part of that. I already am. His chest rose with a sharp breath. Maya, he whispered, I can survive this place. But you, Maya Bennett. She jolted. Daniels. He appeared at the end of the block, tension in every step. You're not assigned to this unit anymore, he said urgently. Briggs is already looking for you. Maya stepped back from the bars. Go, Luca whispered. His voice trembled for the first time. Please. She hesitated, then forced herself to turn away, forced herself to walk past Daniels, forced herself not to look back, until she reached the end of the corridor. She risked one last glance. Luca stood at the bars again, not watching the block, watching her, and in that one silent look, Maya saw a truth more terrifying than anything Briggs could threaten her with. Luca was no longer just an inmate, and she was no longer just a guard. They had crossed a line they couldn't undo, a line that would change everything. Rain finally broke over Holbrook that evening, a violent, pounding storm that shook the windows and drowned the world outside in a roar of water. Inside the prison, the atmosphere quickened. Storms made inmates restless, made guards irritable, made the walls hum with tension. But for Maya, the storm did something else. It made her brave, recklessly brave. She couldn't get Luca's words out of her head. I walked in on two men standing over him. They knocked me unconscious. When I woke up, I was being framed. Maya had seen liars before. Violent men who cried on cue. Manipulators who spun stories for sympathy. Luca wasn't like them. His voice didn't shake from guilt. It shook from memory, from trauma, from truth. Maya sat in the break room long after her shift ended, staring at the file Briggs gave her. At the photos, at the transcripts, at the evidence that felt too neat, too perfect, too staged. Every instinct she had, not as an officer, but as a human being, told her the same thing. Nothing about Luca's case was real, but she needed proof. Something solid, something dangerous. And Holbrook's walls held more secrets than any courtroom ever would. It wasn't until she walked through the long corridor toward the exit that Maya heard it. Officer Bennett. She stiffened. It wasn't Luca's voice. It wasn't Daniel's. It was a whisper, low, raspy, urgent, coming from the shadows near the laundry gate. Maya turned slowly. A figure stepped forward, half his face hidden beneath the flickering light. Hendricks, the same inmate who had taunted Luca days earlier. Maya's grip tightened on her flashlight. What do you want? She asked cautiously. Hendricks raised both hands slowly. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then keep walking. He shook his head. I heard you asking questions. About Moretti. Maya's pulse kicked. You need to stay out of it, Officer Bennett. She didn't reply. Hendricks stepped closer, lowering his voice until it was almost swallowed by the storm outside. You want to know why they want Moretti gone? Maya swallowed hard. He continued. It's because he wasn't supposed to live long enough to talk. A chill crawled down Maya's spine. What do you know? She whispered. Hendricks looked down the hall, making sure no one was listening. Then he leaned in. I'm the one who dragged him out of the hallway the night he got arrested. Her breath caught. You were there? I saw the two guys who hit him, and I saw them plant the bloody letter opener. Saw them wipe their prints and leave his. Maya felt her heart pounding in her ears. Why didn't you tell anyone? Hendricks barked a humorless laugh. You kidding? You think anyone listens to an inmate? Especially when the men who framed him work for the people running this place. The walls around them suddenly felt smaller, tighter, like they were listening. Maya inhaled sharply. Do you know who they were? Hendricks hesitated, then nodded once. Yeah, I know exactly who they were. Maya leaned in. Who? Before he could answer, a door slammed somewhere down the hall. Footsteps. Heavy. Purposeful. Hendricks's eyes widened with panic. Go, he whispered. If they see me talking to you, I'm dead. Maya stepped closer. Hendricks, tell me their names. No, he hissed. Not here. Not now. Hendricks. Tomorrow night, he breathed. Midnight. Laundry Bay. Bring no one. Then he backed into the shadows and vanished between two industrial dryers just as two guards rounded the corner. Maya turned quickly, pretending to be searching her bag. The guards passed her without suspicion, but inside her chest, her heartbeat thundered. She had a witness. A real witness. Someone who saw what happened. Someone who could save Luca. Someone who could expose everything. But only if he lived long enough to speak. When Maya reached the parking lot, rain soaked her uniform instantly. Lightning split the sky. The storm was merciless, but she barely felt any of it. She couldn't shake the words Hendricks whispered. He wasn't supposed to live long enough to talk. She climbed into her car, hands trembling, rain pounding on the windshield. She closed her eyes and replayed Luca's face. His bruised cheek. His quiet pain. His desperate warning for her to stay away. Stay away. She should have listened. But it was too late now. Maya whispered into the dark. I'm going to help you, Luca. I don't care what it costs. Back inside Block D, while Maya drove away, Luca stood at the bars of his cell, staring into the storm. Thunder shook the prison. Rain hammered the roof. But Luca didn't flinch. He felt it, deep in his bones. Something was shifting. Something dangerous. Something coming. And he whispered into the dark, voice breaking. Maya, please stay safe. Because Luca knew something she didn't. Holbrook was not a place where secrets stayed buried. And the moment Maya started digging, the prison would turn its teeth on her too. Midnight draped itself over Holbrook like a black shroud. The prison was quieter than usual, too quiet. No shouts, no footsteps, no whispers drifting through the walls. Just silence. Heavy, expectant. Maya shouldn't have been there. She wasn't on shift. Her access was restricted. Her badge could be flagged at any moment. But Hendricks had asked her to meet him, and she knew this might be her only chance to learn the truth. She moved through the dim hallways with her hood up and her breathing slow. Every sound echoed too loudly. Every shadow felt alive. When she reached the laundry bay, she paused behind a row of carts stacked with sheets. Her heart thudded painfully. This was the most reckless thing she'd ever done. But Luca's voice replayed in her mind. I didn't kill him. They framed me. I can survive this place, but you. She swallowed hard. She was doing this for him. For the truth. For justice. The laundry bay was dim, lit only by one flickering overhead bulb. The machine stood silent. Shadows stretched long across the concrete floor. And then she saw him. Hendricks. He sat on a plastic crate, elbows on his knees, head lowered like he'd been waiting for hours. Maya approached slowly. You came. Hendricks rasped without looking up. You told me you had names, she said quietly. I do. His voice shook. And I need you to listen carefully. What I'm about to say, if anyone else hears. A sound cut through his sentence. A sharp metallic click. Maya's breath froze. Hendricks stiffened. Then a voice echoed from behind the row of washers. Well, isn't this cozy? 3 men stepped out. All guards. All without uniforms. Plain clothes. Military boots. Earpieces. Maya's blood turned cold. They weren't correctional officers. They were contract enforcers. Men hired to do the dirty work prison officials couldn't be seen doing. Maya instinctively stepped in front of Hendricks. What are you doing here? She demanded. The leader smiled. Following orders. One of the men cracked his knuckles, taking a step closer. Hendricks, he said, voice dripping with malice. You've been talking too much. Maya's heart pounded. He's an inmate, she snapped. He's under our protection. The leader snorted. You're not in a position to claim anything anymore, Officer Bennett. The way he said her name made her stomach twist. You shouldn't be here, he said. You shouldn't have gotten involved. And you definitely should not have asked questions about Moretti. Hendricks inhaled shakily. Maya, he whispered, you need to go. She shook her head. No, I won't leave you. The leader grinned. Oh, don't worry. She'll be joining you. The 2 men beside him stepped forward. Hendricks stood abruptly, shielding Maya with his body. Run, he hissed. Now. And then, Everything happened too fast. One guard rushed forward and struck Hendricks in the jaw. Hendricks fell hard, grunting in pain. Another guard grabbed him, pinning him to the ground. Maya lunged forward instinctively. Stop. He's a witness. A fist slammed into her stomach, knocking the air from her lungs. She stumbled backward, choking on breath. Pain exploded through her ribs. Someone grabbed her arm and twisted her to the ground. Her cheek scraped the harsh concrete. She tried to scream. A hand clamped over her mouth. You should have walked away, a voice whispered in her ear. But now you know too much. Maya struggled, kicking and clawing. But they were stronger, trained, prepared. She wasn't supposed to make it out of this room. Neither was Hendricks. And then, a gun clicked. Cold metal pressed against Hendricks's skull. Maya's heart stopped. No, she choked out. Please, he didn't do anything. The leader crouched beside her, gripping her chin. You should learn something, Officer Bennett. His voice turned icy. This place isn't a prison. It's a disposal unit. He leaned closer. And Luca Moretti is next. Maya's blood turned to ice. The leader straightened, pointing the gun again. But Hendricks moved. He twisted, shoving the man's arm aside just as the gun fired. The shot cracked like thunder. Hendricks shouted, grabbing his bleeding shoulder. Maya screamed. Chaos erupted. One guard grabbed Maya by the throat. Another tried to restrain Hendricks. The leader aimed again. And then, alarms blared. Footsteps slammed down the hall. Daniel's voice roared from the doorway. What the hell is going on here? The guards froze. The moment fractured. The leader lowered the gun slowly. Just disciplining an inmate, he said calmly. Daniel stared at him with icy suspicion. Get out, he ordered. All of you. Now. The contract enforcers exchanged glances, but obeyed. They disappeared into the shadows they had crawled from, leaving Maya on the ground, gasping, leaving Hendricks bleeding, leaving the truth half-spoken. Daniels rushed to Maya's side. What the hell were you doing here? He snapped. Maya's voice shook. Hendricks, he knows who framed Luca. Daniel stiffened. His eyes darkened. Maya, he whispered, you need to leave this prison. Tonight. She shook her head weakly. No, I'm not leaving him. Daniels grabbed her arm, pulling her up gently. You don't understand. Those men, they don't take chances. You're already marked. And if they got to you once. His voice softened. Maya, Luca won't survive the night if they're making moves during lockdown. Her heart dropped. Then we need to warn him. Daniels hesitated, then nodded. For now, you need to get somewhere safe. And Maya, she looked up. Daniels stared her straight in the eyes. If you care about Moretti, really care, then prepare yourself. Her breath hitched. For what? She whispered. For a war, Daniels said quietly. Because they won't stop until he's dead. Maya felt one truth burning inside her as she staggered out of the laundry bay. She had crossed the line. She had chosen a side. And now, Holbrook Correctional Facility was coming for both of them. Maya stumbled through the hallway, ribs aching, vision blurred, every breath burning. But none of that mattered. One thought hammered inside her skull. They were going after Luca. Tonight. She couldn't let that happen. Not after everything he'd endured. Not after coming this far. Not after learning the truth. Holbrook's lights flickered as the storm outside intensified, thunder shaking the ceilings. It felt like the entire prison was breathing, waiting, watching. Maya moved quickly, avoiding cameras, avoiding guards, avoiding the eyes that might already be searching for her. At the entrance to Block D, she swiped her badge, and the light flashed red. Access denied. Her stomach twisted. Suspended officers were locked out. Of course she was. Her pulse spiked. She couldn't stop now. She moved down the hallway and slipped through a maintenance door just as two officers passed. The maintenance tunnels were narrow, dark, and unused at night. But Maya knew them well. Every guard did. She reached the small hatch behind Block D, a panel only maintenance staff used. She pulled the lever. The metal groaned, and she squeezed herself inside, boots scraping against cold steel. On the other side, she emerged into Block D, behind a row of tall storage racks. The tier was dim, half-lit, silent, too silent. Her heart pounded. Where were the guards? Where was the noise? Where was the normal rhythm of nighttime routines? Something was wrong. Very wrong. Maya stayed low, creeping forward until she reached the end of the row, and froze. Two men stood outside Luca's cell. Not prisoners. Not officers. The same contract enforcers from the laundry bay. Her breath caught. They were speaking in low voices. Make it look like suicide, one said. No noise. No mess. Briggs said it has to be quick, the other replied. Before morning count. Maya's blood boiled. Her throat tightened. She had no weapon, no badge access, no backup, but she had something else. The will to burn down the entire prison if it meant saving Luca. She stepped out from behind the shadows. Move away from his cell. Her voice cracked through the silence. Both men turned. Shock flashed across their faces. You again, the leader hissed. She didn't flinch. Walk away, Maya warned, though her voice trembled. This ends now. Luca stirred inside his cell, hearing the commotion. Maya, he called softly, and the sound nearly ripped her heart open. One of the enforcers smirked. This is perfect. 2 problems solved at once. He reached for his gun. Maya's hands shook, but she stood her ground. You shoot me, Maya said, and every camera in this block will see it. He sneered. Cameras have blind spots, and accidents happen in prison all the time. He took 1 step forward, but a baton slammed down on his wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. Daniel stepped out of the shadows, eyes blazing. You're done, he growled. The leader snarled at him. You're choosing the wrong side, officer. Daniels cracked his baton once. No, I'm choosing the honest one. A violent fight erupted. 2 against 1. Then 2 against 2, as Maya joined. She swung her fist, pain shooting through her ribs, but adrenaline carried her. One enforcer shoved her into the bars. She hit the metal hard, her vision flashing white. Another grabbed Daniels by the collar, slamming him into the wall. Luca gripped his bars, eyes wild. Maya, get back. But she refused. She kicked one enforcer behind the knee. He stumbled. Daniels elbowed the other in the jaw. The fight tore through the hallway. Desperate, brutal, messy. These men weren't just guards. They were executioners. Holbrook's cleaners. And Maya realized something terrifying. They didn't care if they lived or died tonight, as long as Luca didn't live past morning. One enforcer lunged at her. Luca roared, grabbing the man's arm through the bars. The enforcer twisted. Luca didn't let go, and Maya struck him in the temple with everything she had. The man collapsed. Silence. A long, terrible silence. Daniel stood panting. Maya clutched the bars, shaking. The second enforcer scrambled away, clutching his bleeding mouth. This isn't over, he spat. You just signed your deaths. He fled. Maya turned to Luca. His hands still gripped the bars. Maya. His voice cracked. Why did you come? Her tears fell. I couldn't let them hurt you. He closed his eyes, forehead resting against the steel separating them. Maya, I can't lose you. Her breath broke. You won't. Daniels wiped blood from his lip. We have to move him, he said. Now, before backup arrives. Maya nodded. She looked at Luca. We're getting you out of this cell. Luca stared at her like she was something unreal. Why are you doing this? Maya swallowed. Because I care about you. Because you're innocent. Because I can't watch you die. But she said only. Because it's the right thing. Luca's eyes softened, then hardened. Maya, once we do this, once you help me, there's no going back. She stepped closer, gripping the bars. I don't want to go back. The storm raged outside. The corridor shook with thunder. And the 3 of them stood on the edge of a decision that would change everything. Maya looked at Daniels. Let's get him out of here. Daniels nodded, pulling a stolen key from his pocket. Then brace yourselves, he whispered. Because from this moment on, we're fugitives inside the belly of a monster. He slid the key into the lock. Luca's cell door creaked open. For the first time, Luca Moretti stepped out of the cage they tried to bury him in, and Maya reached for him. Together, running toward the only thing left worth fighting for. The truth. The door to Luca's cell groaned open like it hadn't moved in years. Maya felt her breath catch as the lock clicked fully, the metal trembling under Daniel's hand. Luca stood still, frozen, disbelieving. It was the first time he'd seen the hallway without bars between him and the world. The harsh light washed over him, making him look less like an inmate, and more like a man finally stepping out of a nightmare. Maya. His voice was quiet, unsteady, human. She nodded once, holding his gaze. We don't have time, Daniels whispered. Move. Luca stepped out, his first free step in months. Maya felt something rise in her chest, sharp, painful, beautiful. But the moment shattered as alarms blared in the distance. Daniels cursed under his breath. They found the bodies. Maya grabbed Luca's wrist. Come on. The run. The three of them moved fast through the long, cold corridors. Daniels led them, stopping at corners, checking for guards. Luca stayed at Maya's side, close enough to shield her if needed. Maya's ribs ached with every breath, but adrenaline kept her moving. They reached the staff hallway. Daniels swiped his badge at the back door. Access denied. Damn it. He tried again. Again. Nothing. They disabled every exit, Maya whispered, horror tightening her throat. Of course they did. Holbrook was a trap that sealed its own doors. Daniels scanned the hall. Only one way left, he said. Maya frowned. What way? Daniels pointed upward. The roof. The rooftop storm. They climbed the maintenance stairs 2 at a time. Thunder cracked overhead. Rain thundered against the metal roof. Wind screamed through the vents like the prison itself was warning them to turn back. Daniels kicked the rooftop door open. The storm swallowed them instantly. Rain drenched their uniforms. Wind fought against every step. Lightning split the sky above them, exposing the razor wire perimeter in blinding flashes. Luca grabbed Maya's arm, steadying her. You shouldn't be here, he shouted over the storm. She turned to him, rain streaking her face. I'm exactly where I need to be. He stared at her then, truly stared, as if memorizing her in the chaos. Daniels shouted from ahead. There, the west ladder. At the far edge of the roof, a ladder ran down the side of the building. Their way out, or at least, their chance at survival. But as they sprinted across the rooftop door slammed open. Floodlights cut through the darkness. Holbrook officers poured out, guns raised. And behind them, Warden Briggs. His coat whipped in the wind, rain streaming down his face, eyes burning with betrayal and fury. Bennett, he roared. You have no idea what you're doing. Maya stepped in front of Luca instinctively. Stop, she shouted. He's innocent. Briggs laughed. A cold, hollow sound swallowed by thunder. There are no innocent men in Holbrook. Lightning flashed behind him. That inmate is a liability. A loose thread in a suit that cost millions to stitch. Daniels stepped forward. You framed him. Briggs sneered. You think you know anything, Daniels? You're a pawn. She's a pawn. And Moretti. He pointed at Luca. He's a stain we've been trying to scrub out for months. Luca's fists clenched. Maya grabbed his hand. Don't, she whispered. You're not like them. Briggs raised his gun. At least he'll die with someone who cares. Maya tensed. Luca pulled her behind him. Daniels moved. No. He rushed toward Briggs. And a gunshot split the sky. Daniels dropped to his knees. Maya screamed. Luca lunged forward, catching Daniels before he fell limp. Rain mixed with blood. Daniels' voice trembled. Maya, listen. She dropped beside him, sobbing. Stay with me, please stay. Daniels gripped her wrist weakly. Get him out. Tell the truth. Burn this place. His breath faltered. His grip loosened. And he was gone. Maya's scream tore through the storm. Briggs raised the gun again. Enough. Luca pushed Maya aside and stepped forward into the open, rain pouring down his face, eyes blazing. Briggs, he shouted. You want me? Take me. Briggs smiled. Gladly. He aimed. But Maya moved faster. She grabbed Daniel's taser and fired. Electricity crackled through the air, striking Briggs square in the chest. He convulsed, roaring in pain, collapsing onto the wet concrete. The guards behind him hesitated. Shocked. Uncertain. Unprepared. Run. Maya screamed. Luca didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand. They sprinted across the roof. Rain hammered them. Wind dragged at their bodies. Shouts filled the night. They reached the ladder. Maya climbed first. Luca followed, rain-soaked, desperate. Halfway down, bullets struck the wall beside them. Maya slipped. Luca caught her wrist. I've got you. He yelled. Her heart thundered. She believed him. They reached the ground. They ran into the storm, leaving Holbrook behind them. Sirens blaring, lights flashing, chaos erupting. Luca didn't look back. Maya did. She saw silhouettes fighting on the roof. She saw officers shouting. She saw the prison collapsing into panic. And she saw one truth. Holbrook would never stop hunting them. But neither would she stop fighting. They ran until the prison lights were distant sparks behind them. Maya collapsed beside a line of trees, breathless, soaked, trembling. Luca knelt in front of her, gripping her shoulders. Maya, are you hurt? She shook her head, tears mixing with rain. You're free, she whispered. His chest rose sharply. For now. She swallowed hard. I'll help you prove your innocence. I'll expose them. I'll do whatever it takes. Luca cupped her face gently, the first tender touch he'd allowed himself. You shouldn't risk your life for me. She leaned into his hand. I already have. Thunder rolled across the sky. Luca closed his eyes, forehead resting against hers. Maya, why? She whispered the answer. Because you're worth saving. He exhaled, a sound full of pain, relief, and something like hope. Maya, I won't let anything happen to you. You can't promise that. He opened his eyes. No, he said softly, but I can fight for it. Rain poured down. The night swallowed them. But for the first time, Luca Moretti wasn't running for his life alone. He had someone beside him, someone who believed him, someone who defied an entire system for him, someone who saw him, Maya Bennett. And together, they stepped into the darkness of the storm, ready to fight for truth, for freedom, and for each other.